Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Golf Parfection podcast. As you can see, back in here in the golf garage. If you're in the South Bay, come on in and get your game dialed in. That being said, I'm joined here with Matt and then also guest Daniela. We just dropped a podcast about her and her experience in golf and just talking about golf in general. But for this one, we're going to talk about the underrated golf tour. So, pretty much, let's just dive right into it. Daniela, maybe why don't you describe what the underrated golf tour is, and then we can go ahead and talk about your participation after it. But what is the underrated golf tour?
So it's a junior golf tour run by Steph Curry. So he made the whole thing alongside Will Lowery, Jay Richardson. So it's basically like a mini PGA tour.
Okay.
They fly us out there. They give us a room. They have Monday qualifiers. So if you want to qualify into the tournament last minute, and everything's paid for by them.
Oh wow, that's incredible. So like even so they pretty much you just have to get the
Yeah.
time to go there, and then you're pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so, yeah, like I have here, on paper, and it's kind of funny because Steph Curry, when he started, like it's kind of in the branding. Like I think the shtick is like he was considered like a 3-star recruit. And so, like in the 5-star logo, there's only 3 stars illuminated. So he kind of had a chip on his shoulder. But when it comes down to it, they have these key pillars. It comes down to equity, access, and opportunity. So their mission reads, underrated golf is a purpose-driven business endeavor with the overarching commitment to provide equity, access, and opportunity to student athletes from every community by balancing participation in the sport to truly reflect our society. So, reading on, they were talking about statistically, especially in the PGA, it's not very diverse. And so, part of that is, how the sport is currently. So, yeah, Matt, so when you heard about the underrated golf tour, like what was your impressions on that? Because, it's probably like a big shift in what we know as the junior golf leagues of today, right?
It is run so well. I mean, with live leaderboards, you've got the full billboards behind each tee box. They're treating these kids like tour players, but with a cooler vibe, right? It's not so stuffy. It's not so just traditional old school golf, right? It is, a DJ on the first tee, and these kids are having a
Ah,
good time when they're
okay.
not, they're all hanging out together when they're not playing, and putting them all up in the same hotels, they create bonding opportunities. It really is cool. And to outfit them with bags and head covers and shoes and clothing, right? It's just a cool experience from top to bottom. And to be there with her for the qualifier, and watching her qualify and play rather well in the qualifying, and she played rather well in the tournament, and she played 2 events in this year, and placed top 10 in both events,
All right.
right? And the second one, she didn't even have her best game with her, and she still
Yeah.
scraped out. And that's golf, though. You got to be able to grind it out when you don't have your best, because there's
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. So quickly before we jump too much into the underrated golf tour, so what are just to let everyone know, what are the other golf tours that you participate in that's not underrated golf tour, just to give perspective?
I play JT&T and JG&T.
Got it. And then that's pretty much, like Matt and I, we talked about junior golf, and that's like pretty, to even get into events, it's pretty cutthroat, right? So it's like
Well,
total
that's
different
that's the
world,
thing.
right?
Even with her getting into more events, is, I mean, she could play the AJGA or whatever, but by the time you try to qualify, like, you've 10 seconds by the time it opens up before it's sold out, right? It's really hard to get into some of these tours, right? And I think that's why they're making more tours, right? There's so many
Yeah.
more competitive kids out there that'll play. They just need to be able to be given a place, an opportunity to play.
Got it, got it. So it sounds like how they carry themselves at these tournaments is like more fun, less stuffy. So I mean, is that kind of what you observe too? Playing in these like leagues is underrated, kind of like cool as opposed to the other leagues, or
Yeah,
what's
it's
your
like
opinion
a
on that?
serious cool. Like you're on the first tee, they're playing music. Like you have all of the like everybody on the tour is your friend. Like you know every single person, and then once you get off the first tee, you're kind of hitting your next shot. That's kind of when it starts to become serious.
Okay. Whereas like those AJG or the other leagues that you're participating in, it's like I feel like it's more individualistic maybe. Like you're there for yourself to compete, which is fine, right? But like the aspect that you discussed, like you kind of know everyone. I think that's really cool. I think that's because golf could get lonely at that level, right? You know, you don't know anyone. Maybe you'll know one or two people, but that's cool that they're fostering kind of community more, like so you can like bond with those other participants. I think that's really awesome.
And you're meeting people from all over the United States and sometimes other countries that are being flown in, right?
Yeah.
And some of these golf courses that they get to play are absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah, because and then we'll get into probably the courses that you do play. But one quick question, and so I know maybe because of the Golf Channel thing, maybe you got plugged. So like I was like, how'd you get plugged into the Underrated tour? Like how did that even come about?
It was our first day filming, and then Will was looking at my swing, and I think he went outside, took a call. I think he told Matt, he's like, got her into Underrated. He's like, you're leaving this weekend. You're going to Houston. I was
Wow.
like, okay.
That's great.
It was interesting when he first said, like, what are you guys doing this weekend? And I was like, whatever you want us to do. Like, we will clear our schedules. And he was like, I had a really good chance I can get you on that as a qualifier spot for the Underrated tour. And I was like, cool. Is it local? Like, I didn't even know. Like, he said, oh no, you guys are going to Houston.
Yeah, like,
and I was like, okay. And literally
Yeah,
2 days later, we were on a plane to Houston. And
wow.
if you're not used to that heat and humidity, it is a whole different ballgame.
Right, yeah. Because I saw the post that, like, I think from your account, man, like, oh yeah, I'm canceling these weekends lesson because we're gonna go play Underrated tour. I didn't even know what the Underrated tour was, so you guys showed me. I was like, what is this? You know, like, so it was really cool to see that. It was really cool that you got to be a part of that. You're in it now, so yeah, pretty awesome. But talking about the first event, we'll probably get into that one, which is in Texas. Yeah, hitting in that hot humidity hits different because it really wears on your body. I mean, me being I'm not the most athletic guy, but like in Hawaii, playing in Hawaii, it was kind of probably a little hotter in Texas, but still just as humid. You start cramping or like your swing, it's hard to focus. So let's talk about how it was in that first event in Texas. Yeah. So Matt, like how
okay, to give you a little idea, we got off the plane at 1:30 in the morning. We caught the Uber at 2:00, and at 2:00 in the morning, it was 85 degrees and just straight humid. Like, can we get back on the plane now? Like, it was bad. And I'm telling you, I don't know how she held up for that many days, because just walking along and in the cart, I was like, I need some more water. I need like ice. Like, it was hot. Right. But you're playing against some of these kids that are from there, right? Like that are from more like they understand how to play in that. And if you're not used to it, these California kids are not used to that humidity.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled here in the Bay Area for sure. So real quick then, like, so Will says, hey, if you can make it, you can do a Monday or qualify to play in the tournament. And so from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, once you qualify, then you can go to subsequent events or so. What is this, what is the deal around that?
So she was able to qualify, and if she qualified, she was able to get an exemption for the entire next season. Right. So luckily enough, they had also found her a spot to play in Tampa, but she had to qualify. You had to qualify again, right, for Tampa. In the qualifying, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage coming out and qualifying, right? So you're playing with these kids that are already playing in the event, but they're playing a practice round,
while
you're playing with kids that are trying to qualify, right? So instead of concentrating on looking where these pin placements are for the next few days, we had to strictly say, like, okay, this is what we're doing here. We went out and played we were able to get a practice round on the day before. We mapped out the entire course, and we're glad you did, because you're not playing a course and you don't see the water left, and you hit over a bunker, next thing you know, you're like, we're in the lake when we thought we hit a perfect shot. So she mapped it out well, and I think she shot 74 in qualifying.
All right.
Yeah, so it was a solid round. Great. The Golf Club of Houston is phenomenal. Like, what an incredible facility.
God. So how many get to qualify into the event? Or
It varies.
it varies?
Yeah.
Okay, depending how many people are in the field or
Yeah.
something. Okay.
Mhm.
And so did you know like a number you had to shoot, or was it just like I'm gonna do the best I can and hopefully it's the number that I need, or
In Houston, it was, I think there's like 8 or 9 of us
oh,
playing, and I think that were qualifying, and then like 6 or 7 made it.
okay,
So
okay.
that was pretty easy. But over in Florida, in Tampa, there was like 8 or 9, and only like the top 5 would actually make it.
There you go. I mean, that's so cool to hear. Like, you
Mm.
know, like your success always on the course. It's a joy to watch from afar. So,
I think the first time she did it too, it was a little bit more stressful because we didn't know how many people were qualifying, and we
sure.
didn't know like we're preparing to be like, man, we got to be top 2, we got to be top 3, like let's go out and I think at one point in time she was 5 under in the practice round, like she really had it going for a minute there, like so we're like okay, and then we're like oh. We got to beat 2 people.
Hey,
know?
you'll take it, right? Because so it sounds like that qualification, which we talked about in the previous podcast. Now you're set to play in all of the events for the following year, which is I think that's awesome. So, yeah. So like let's talk about the actual tournament. So you qualified in, and unfortunately, like I think Matt, you were touching on it. Like yeah, you're kind of at a disadvantage because that qualifying mentality and like effort and exhaustion probably is a lot different than a practice
It's a
round, right?
grind.
Yeah,
It's a grind. Instead of being able to say, I'm going to chip some balls from 3 different areas around the green, depending on, I know hey, look, my safe miss is front right. So I'm going to chip from this front right spot, and I'm going to chip to 3 locations on the green where the pins are going to be for the next few days, right? To be able to just be like, okay, this is what I'm checking out. I'm putting on the green, just to say, okay, because they're going to put little colors to where the pins will be. So you can putt around those colors and go, okay, I know my best place to be is going to be short left on this particular hole because I know, maybe it's 15 feet, but it's 15 feet flat versus if I miss right, it's going to be 5 foot, but it's going to be a big bender. I'd rather have the 15-foot straight.
Got
right. So being able to kind of map some of that out, I think would be an advantage and great opportunity. But we were more concentrating on, hey, we just need to make it till tomorrow.
So got it. So yeah, like so you qualified in, spent a lot of energy. You're probably just trying to rest up for the actual event, which I think I saw Matt, you're giving a status update. So really appreciate that. That was cool to watch. And so what was it like playing? So I'm sure you caddied, right?
I was
no
in a cart.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were just playing on your own. So how was it? And then maybe not only how was it, but how did it compare to I guess your other leagues that you've been in? Like just playing, like how was that first round pretty much at Houston?
It was interesting.
Okay,
Because
sure.
I had never been there. I've never been on the underrated tour before, so I didn't know what the field looked like. So I kind of just stepped up on the first tee. I think they were playing music, blasting it out loud, and I was like, okay, this is kind of more chill. And then I see the girls hit. I'm like, oh, maybe it's not.
You're like, dang, like
Yeah.
these girls are here to play.
Mhm.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And you play with, it's not mixed, even though there is a boys and girls, I think, league. You don't play with boys at all. You always play with, okay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like how was, usually you size up people in your group or whatever. So
Yeah.
did it feel like pretty much like the other leagues that you've been in where like everyone's pretty good, or like maybe they're like elevated in terms of skill? Like what was your thought on that?
I did kind of size up my opponents.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Everyone
what
does
everybody,
that.
yeah, everybody does it. I think underrated has a lot of really good potential, and then there's some which is the more average you see on your junior tours.
Sure. Okay. So it's a mix.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
a
much-
really good mix. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, that's cool to hear your insights on that. And so it's so once you qualified in, you get 2 rounds, or how many rounds?
Yeah.
2 rounds.
Mhm.
Got it. Okay. And so I can't exactly remember how things. So you got top 10, right? So how'd you do on those two rounds? Like how'd you shoot on those 2 rounds? Do you remember?
73 first day. She was 3 strokes off the lead. So when you do that, the second round, you got to press a little bit to make some up. And then there was an errant shot here. I think it's more putting. I think you
Yeah.
hit a lot of greens. She just, nothing was falling for her. And what did you like 76, 77, something like that the second day. 70, 75, 76, 77, somewhere in there for the second day. But I mean, she hit the ball so well under the conditions that she was in, humidity, camera. I mean, there's literally cameras on you. Like I
Mhm.
remember
Really?
one shot, she was struggling a little bit in this par five, knocks at the bunker, knocks it out of the bunker, has 5 iron left in, pulls a bunker, pulls it, and it's sitting in between this little nub, like from the on the
Mm.
bunker, right? And she's getting ready to play the shot, and they roll up, and it's like it's Steph Curry's dad,
Dell.
right? It's
Okay,
Del
sure.
Curry, and then Will,
We
and
got
then
Jay
some other, and
Rich.
then Jay, right? And they're like looking like arms crossed, like watching her, and she's got a straight up flop shot that she's got to cover the edge of the bunker to a short sided pin, right? With these amazing people watching her in the middle of this event, and she hits it to like a foot and a half, and
Oh
they were
man,
just, it was
that's
so cool because
awesome.
they were just mind blowing, like they're clapping, like it was just
That's
such a
great.
cool experience because we had just like the day before we're working on that high soft shot too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So that's more like definitely a memorable highlight for you.
Mhm.
Me thinking being I said I'm killing someone, straight
Yeah.
up, right? So yeah, for you Danielle, like what was for that first tournament? I know it's probably a whirlwind because you were just cued in like that week of, right? So
Mhm.
what was, and it doesn't even have to be anything on the course. Like what was from that first event like the most memorable part of that first tournament for you?
Just seeing the people there, like seeing people like me playing golf and like just being friends with them. Everybody was so friendly. Everybody was they're crazy. That underrated tour is crazy.
Oh, that I mean
Yeah.
that sounds so. I mean, and then it's really I guess not eye opening, but because I kind of understand. But like when you say, seeing people like me, I think that's encouraging, and it kind of is a testament of what this tour stands
And
for,
like
and that's just awesome to hear.
from the minute you pull up to, they are treated like tour players, right? The dinners were phenomenal. They've got breakfast for you. They've got banners in front of the clubhouse. They've got the whole entire driving range had banners every 15 feet of the underrated tour. Like it really is an experience. But I thought your favorite experience was going to be the Chinese restaurant that we had.
Oh
That's bottom
It
food
no.
was
or
it
not
was
It
good.
was
terrible.
Especially if
interesting.
you're
So
like from Bay Area,
yeah,
right?
so we
Right.
we go to this quick store. We go to this Chinese restaurant. We got to like find something within walking distance of our hotel. And first off, trying to walk out of the hotel in that heat was
Oh
already
gosh, I can only
already bad
imagine.
enough. So we find the only thing that was open was this Chinese place, and like we go there, we order, and no joke, they served us like the platter. Normally, if they're platter of food, it came out on a paper plate, right? And then your food came out on a paper plate. Like everything was served on
Oh.
paper plates. I'm not even sure. I think it was like plastic forks. Like it was just the most. Yeah, it was sketchy to say. Yeah.
Okay, for sure, for sure. No, that I mean, and that's what kind of makes I'm sure like life on tour for a lot of people. You'll
Oh,
have moments like that. So that's funny to hear, and I'm glad you shared. I'm glad you
but
shared that.
well, I think one of my favorite moments of that event is like we were on the driving range. I can't remember if it was before day one or day two, and she's got this cameraman like right in her face, right? Like we're talking full fledged big ass camera right in her face. And they're like, all right, let's watch you hit some shots, right? And I'm telling you, she put 2 3 woods on a rope right after it, one right after another. It was incredibly impressive. The normal person is going to crack under that pressure,
Mm.
right? And it
Oh
was it
yeah,
was impressive to see like she just sticks with the same routine. It didn't phase her whatsoever. And
that's
just on the first tee, like I'm telling you, like I played a little competitive golf back in my day, and to like I get more nervous watching her play than if I was playing,
sure.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Just because I
yeah.
want her to do so good, so bad. But to watch her rope one off the first tee too, just go like, oh, okay, I know we're gonna be okay,
Yeah,
right?
and yeah, I mean, you top 10 in the first event, like under those conditions, and just barely learning
'Cause-
about it and getting out there. It's
Yeah,
like holy smokes,
and
that's
again,
great.
and I think the only like real big difference is like these other tours that she's playing on. There's each age bracket, 16 through 18, 14, 15,
Okay.
whatever, right? So the girls, regardless of what age, you're competing against each other in one category, but
Oh,
at
okay.
a certain age bracket, they allow you to play a shorter amount of tees, right?
Okay.
So there is a little bit like, because there's some of those younger girls that can still bomb it super far, but if they're 50 yards up, right, and there's a little bit of an advantage there, but
Sure.
that's like it's just golf.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
still cool. Like just it keeps everybody together, but when it's different landing spots. When especially par threes, if you had a 20-yard advantage.
Yeah, that can make all the difference there for sure. So yeah, kind of, it's really interesting hearing the underpinnings of the underrated golf tour. Like I said before, you two were involved. I had no idea it existed, and so really cool that that what they're doing at their key pillars. I think is really awesome. So a couple more topics here. So Will Lowry. So you guys met him through Youth on Course, then the golf documentary, and then now through underrated golf tour. So what's he like? Just Danielle, just tell me what is he like?
He's a cool guy. I mean, if you need help, he's there. I think the in Florida wasn't playing my best, and then he called me. He's like, "Come out to the range. I'll help you right now. Like, I won't fix your swing, but I'll help you get over it or something like that." He's just like there for us anytime.
Yeah, I mean, like I see him on social media or Instagram. Like seems like a really cool dude and really passionate. I watched a few videos of it, like of the underrated golf tour with him in it.
Mm-hmm.
He's very passionate about it, and you want someone like that definitely representing your tour. So I think that's really cool. So yeah, Matt. I mean, what are your impressions on Will? Like,
What he's doing for the game, again, it's incredible. He's bringing a so many people that don't have that opportunity and helping them have that opportunity, right? And just that experience, like playing in these events, these are things that you're going to remember for quite some time. This is a lifelong experience that you were able to be there and be able to participate at these golf courses that you wouldn't normally be able to play, right? With these great competitions
yeah,
and take that aside, just the way that what he's doing with hosting a few different shows and how he's always involved. And it is, if you need help, like he's gonna be there, right? He's super friendly, incredibly humble, and just a fun guy to be around.
oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, definitely Will. If you ever watch us, you know, sounds like you're leaving a great impression, and what you're doing for the game is great. So that being said, let's talk about really quick then Tampa. So you got your first, you got your fingers, dipped into the water for the underrated tour at Austin or Texas, and then you go to Tampa. So how was that? So now you're more prepared, right? But you still have to do qualifying. But it sounds like, yes, you're going there to compete, but it sounds like I would be pretty excited to kind of experience that again and meet up with the same people, right? So how was that whole Tampa experience?
The weather made it crazy.
Okay.
I think the qualifier, they took out the qualifiers first, and then it was like there was thunder, it was windy. I think I first threw the first 9 holes weren't very good. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna qualify because I was not playing good at all, and there was less spots available than Houston.
Sure, so low pressure, huh?
Yeah, and then I didn't do very good, and then the weather started coming around. So they're like,
so the people who were out longer had an advantage.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So then we played more holes, but my ending holes were like the ones I wasn't playing very good.
I see.
So then the thunder came around, they stopped play.
Sure. Okay.
So
okay.
the qualifiers finished around like 11 holes, 10 or 11 holes. So then they didn't count. They just stopped play completely, so they only counted the first 11 holes.
Yeah, so she was through like what 15 or 16,
Yeah.
but they could only count because the people
They
behind her had
couldn't
only
finish.
gotten to 11. So when they stopped at 11, there was a couple of holes in there that she didn't score so well on that didn't end up counting. So the number
Hey.
that she had, so she got a pretty good break to
Let's
get in,
go.
and then
That's
again
sometimes what it
made
takes.
the most out of it once she got into the event. But again, it's like you. Golf is a grind, and I tell her all the time, you got to love it when you're playing good. You got to love it when you're playing bad.
Sure.
Because it's gonna take a turn, right? It takes one good swing at one, like you just go, oh, there it is. I'm gonna ride that out.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was one I couldn't be. We tried to make it. It was just too last minute for me to take that much time to be out of the garage, and it's hard
Sure.
for me to cancel that many lessons.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, so did you went with your folks or by yourself
Just me
or?
and my mom.
Okay, okay,
Mm,
cool, cool. And I mean that's so. And then they put you up in a nice hotel, and they fly. I mean that's the fact that they pay for everything. That I think that's awesome
mm,
because otherwise it's super hard to even afford
Yeah.
that. That's like
yeah.
crazy money, right? Like
Mm,
last minute tickets to Tampa. Like
yeah.
how come up with that out of the blue is not easy. So okay, so got in, qualified, awesome. So like
Mm.
how did the tournament itself go then?
It was good. The course was nice. Copperhead, super nice course.
Yeah, super famous to play PGA events there.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, did
It was fun. What like getting to see everybody again, like just playing with them, playing with like just other people.
got it.
Mm.
Okay, so now you're two events in, and so since you did qualify into that last one, you got a whole. I guess now you got a full season right
Mm.
coming up for your senior. I think that's awesome. So how many events is that for this upcoming season?
They haven't released the dates yet,
Okay.
but last season there was like 4 events and then the tour championship.
Got it. So,
Yeah.
do you like? So, what's the game plan there? Like, you're gonna participate. I'm assuming if you have the time, you're gonna participate in all of them.
Yeah. Hmm.
Awesome. That's so cool. So now you get a fresh season. Maybe you can get some points or something, and then
Mm.
I guess you kind of hit the nail on the head on the next topic. Let's talk about that tour championship because it was at TPC. At
Mm.
that point, I started following the underrated tour, and there's a lot of people involved on my socials that I saw going to that. So it was at TPC Harding Park, and
Mm.
you got to hang out for that as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
I
So how
wasn't
was
able to
that?
qualify. It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was like I had my player tag, so I got access to everything.
Okay.
Jay Rich was like, "You're a player. You can just go wherever you want." So it was like the first tee. There's music still, even though it's super serious. On the range, every player had their player tag. Um, I like walked up, and then my one of the other players was like, "Did you see who's here?" I'm like, "No." She's like, Colin Morikawa was out on the first tee box. He's like, "Oh wait," and so was Steph Curry and Del Curry. So there was all these cool people just out there. I was like in shock the entire time.
That's so cool. Yeah, I did see that Colin was there. Was Michelle Wee
Michelle
with
Wee
you?
was there later, yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean that's so awesome. And then just how you describe it, it sounds like how Matt you put it. It's like straight up tour player. Like you're a
Hmm.
tour player, and I think that's cool to give that opportunity to the players to see what it's like to feel like to being that important player in that tour. So I'm sure you just like spectated and you got to
Hmm.
watch people play, and I'm sure you were familiar with. I saw you take all these pictures with everyone, so it sounds like man, like you're already like buds with everyone. So that's pretty cool. So like, just kind of an incredible story how you ended up participating.
So
It's
yeah,
awesome.
so quick little story too. It was I remember being a Tuesday. I was giving my last lesson of the night, and she starts to FaceTime me, and I knew where she was at, right? And I was like, first off, she never FaceTimes me because she's a teenager, right? And I was like, is something wrong? Is her car breakdown? She cannot get her hold of her parents. So I was giving this lesson. I was like, hey man, do you mind, like real quick? Like I just need to make sure she's okay, whatever. And I answer this FaceTime call, and I can see she's at a party and having a good time, right? And she's like, hey coach, someone wants to meet you. And I was like, oh, cool. And Colin Morikawa grabs the phone and he's like, hey coach. And I was like, oh my God.
That is
So
awesome.
it was pretty cool. But that led to this new thing we got going on. Anybody we meet, anybody famous will FaceTime each other. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I was out with George Gankis, and
Right,
I
I
made
saw
sure
that.
I FaceTimed Daniela with George Gankis. I was like, George wants to talk to you. So it
Awesome.
was pretty cool.
We should definitely cover that on a future podcast. Like I'm very curious to pick his brain or see what you
Oh,
got
it was
from him.
incredible, incredible. Him and
Got it.
Dahlquist. Dahlquist was legit as well.
Got it. So we'll definitely touch on that in a future episode. But bringing it back here, yeah. So you got to be around in the championship, and maybe we'll kind of like spark that fire in you. Now you want to go
Hmm.
qualify. So I'll be watching you see how you progress through that. Um, and so yeah, just really appreciate you sharing this whole journey that you've been on. Like including the last episode with the golf channel and then getting plugged into the underrated golf tour. It's just been really awesome to finally meet you because we've talked
Hmm.
about you with Matt and I, and your maturity as a person and as a golfer, and it's just been great as a, as a, I guess, a fan from the side, or like a spectator from the side, to and someone from the community,
Oh,
to cheer on.
she is she regardless of where she goes to play golf after this and how far she goes, she's always a part of the Grush. Like she's the
Absolutely.
beginning OG crew.
For sure. Okay, so I think that will wrap it up for this episode. Like I said, I'll put everyone's socials down below if you want to follow along. But I hope you guys enjoy that one. Keep chasing, and we'll see you in the next one.